All right, everyone, welcome to Career Day. This is a collaboration between the Career Center and the Communication Studies Department. I'm Bill Wolf, and it says here on my script that I'm a faculty member in the Communication Studies Department, which is true. Throughout the day, we've invited awesome alumni to join us for conversations about their careers in order to give you insight into different career paths, industries, and to get advice on how to enter and thrive in these fields. These sessions work best when you are participating in them with lots of questions, especially like follow-up questions throughout or things at the end. The more questions that you have, the more effective this is going to be and the more you're going to take away from it. So today our guest is Emma McCormick. Say hi, Emma. Emma graduated in 2022 with a major in comm studies. She is the marketing communications manager at Venture Together, which is a group based in New York.
Rockland County, New York, yeah.
Rockland County, New York, and they work with individuals with various intellectual disabilities. And she's been there since December, and she's had a really interesting career path since graduating. Emma is one of the rock stars of the comm program when she was here. She was the department award recipient for Outstanding Capstone Project, which was just absolutely phenomenal. She did this really cool art steps thing where she created a virtual exhibit that explored food and art throughout, I don't know, 100 or so years back. It was really great and incredibly researched. And she was great. And she's blushing a little bit, but
I
that's
am. How'd you
that's great.
know?
um, and she was also a member of Alpha Omicron Pi and Phi Alpha Theta. I don't really know what those are, but she was those, which is great. And she also had a minor in art and art history, so her capstone was able to take advantage of that. So it's always great to see you, Emma. We saw you earlier in the semester in capstone, and it's great to see you again.
Happy to be
Um,
back.
Great. So just to get us started, I have a list of questions I'm going to ask, and we're going to see how long we can go with these. But if anybody does have any questions as we're discussing this, please just add them to the chat or raise your hand, and we'll try to get them added in. Okay. So Emma, could you describe your current role, a little bit about the position, your responsibilities, maybe a little bit what it's like day to day for you?
Yeah. So I'm the marketing communications manager for Venture Together, as Bill said, which is a nonprofit for people with IDD, which stands for intellectual and developmental disabilities. We cater to pretty much every aspect of life for them. Like we do residential, day programs, respite, vocational help, like employment, etc. Pretty much anything you can think of helping families and individuals, we do. So I am the lead role in developing and implementing like the internal, external communications and marketing. I oversee every marketing, PR, communications thing that comes from Venture Together and our retail store, Just a Buck. So mainly I take care of all brand assets. I am the one making all the graphics, going to every event, taking photos, interviewing people, making all of our blog posts, making our monthly newsletters, working with advocacy. So sometimes I'm working with senators or writing speeches and press releases for my CEO to read for senators.
Hmm.
Um, I track every piece of analytics that we do with general marketing, so SEM, SEO, Instagram, Facebook, all that good. Um, what else? I manage all our budgets for marketing and communications. And I have to also manage that on a quarter. I have to give out budget reports on a quarterly basis. I work the most with the C-suite, so I'm normally working with the CEO, CFO, CHHRO, and all those people, and I help them track things that they need for internal and external communications, like emails, photo releases, like statement issues, and all that kind of stuff. So anything you can think of with marketing and PR, I'm doing.
How do you keep track of all that? Because I'm just like overwhelmed just hearing about everything that you're doing.
Well, I have a really amazing boss. She is like super supportive and is very, very strict about work-life balance and like, not overloading a plate, but finding enough to put on the plate.
Mhm.
So I have that, and we have a hired third party company that is all virtual, but I have Chelsea, and she helps me with like back end stuff. So sometimes if I need someone to just send out an email being like, "We're doing a fundraiser, give us money, please," something like that. She helps me with that.
Yeah.
But mainly that and a lot of lists. My
Okay.
wall is covered in post-it notes constantly.
Okay. So you're doing all that, but you also have somebody working underneath you.
Yes.
Okay. So you're in charge of them too,
Yeah.
sort of making sure that person is doing what they're doing. Okay. Incredible. All right. So how did you decide to pursue this career? And maybe you could talk a little bit about your career path and decisions since graduation in 2020, 2022.
Yeah. So I was about to say it wasn't that I actively hunted down the nonprofit career. It was more I have always wanted to work in art history, like museums or historical institutions and stuff, which to be fair, a lot of them are nonprofits. But that's really my goal in life. I want to be there. So, I had the history and art history minor and stuff. So when I graduated, I was like, I'm going to become a museum person one day. But first, I'm going to make bank by being a real estate agent. So I got my real estate license because I figured that'd be a great way to make connections and I can get into commercial real estate and buy historical homes and help like buy and sell old things. Did that for a year, hated it, literally made me miserable. And then while I was doing that, I started applying for jobs, you know, anywhere near me. And I was pretty much open to any career so long as I felt it could one day lead to museums. And after months and months of interviews, applications, working every day to get at least like 20 applications out or something, I got an interview here and they hired me.
Okay, great.
So,
And you also got your master's degree, is that right? In that
no,
process?
I don't have a
Okay.
master's. I have at post graduation I did something with SJU for a certificate in digital
Certificate.
marketing.
Okay,
Yeah.
certificate. What was that like?
That was a really interesting experience because it was all virtual and it was, my first time being with like not just undergrad. It was a lot of like, older adults trying to pivot their career or, you know, master it more or decide if they're going to get a master's if they like this enough. So it was really unique to like kind of sit there and see the different stages of careers and life and how people have been learning and how people do learn. I learned my strengths and weaknesses. Like I also really learned about how much I enjoy analytic tracking and like kind of the back end of marketing where it's like the data. I want all the data. So I really learned I like that, and that was a big helpful jump, I think, because I got a bunch of certifications in Google Analytics, Google SEO, Google SEM, HubSpot, email marketing, everything that you could think of. I was trying to cover.
And do you think that helps get this current job?
I think it did, and I mainly because I think not only that it was a really good course, but I think that employers I was asked continuously like, "Oh, like so you're pursuing stuff after graduation." Like they really like to see that you're still always trying to be involved or learning or growing somehow even after graduation.
Great. There was a question from Paige. So is this the job you were hired to, or have you worked when you got hired for Venture, or is this something that you've worked up to the management position?
No, I was hired to this role.
Okay. And was there like training for it, or did you just have to jump right in?
Jumped right in. I mean, they kind of were they were then floating by the seat of their pants for a few months prior to me coming because they didn't have anyone running the marketing. They had just kind of like whoever could. Can we
Mhm.
post on Instagram maybe? So
Right.
it was kind of like a free for all. And the previous marketing communications manager, she left very short notice, unfortunately. So it wasn't like I had a booklet being like, here's what we do, here's how we do it. Hope that helps.
So, okay. All right. So, what has surprised you most about your current job and that role that you have and maybe even working for this kind of nonprofit?
I think with especially nonprofits, you get to wear a bunch of hats all at the same time. Like, unlike a big company or corporation, I am the solely responsible for all the content, PR, marketing, both internally and externally, and I'm pretty much there from its conception as an idea to its being a finished product. And, I'm working closely with the C-suite constantly, just kind of brainstorming general ideas or trying to decipher what they think would be a general idea for marketing. Because as we all know, sometimes people have a really big idea in their head and they're just like, I want 6 million people to visit our Instagram this month. And you're like, and how do you see that happening?
Right.
So sometimes you have to help them build the roadmap to get there.
Okay. And you're enjoying that?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I'm
Okay.
a control freak.
Did you have any did you have any internships when you were at St. Joe's or did you or not?
Well, COVID hit in 2020 when I was like like sophomore going to junior and then junior into senior. So both summers and like that kind of year of junior was completely eaten up by like COVID and companies being like, we're not taking anyone. Don't
Right.
bother. So what I did mainly was I advertised my skills and like in marketing and stuff on local Facebook groups for small businesses and like independent owners and got hired as like a freelance marketing manager for a few companies
Okay.
and a few realtors, which is also how I kind of got into real estate. My
Mhm.
mistake. But I really started working with this one company called CBO Organizing, and what started as an internship kind of turned into me working for them freelance for about 3 years.
Okay. And this was while you were in school and then
Yeah.
after? Okay. And that continued on after. Okay, great. Um, okay, just sort of shifting topics for a second here. What are some ways that venture demonstrates a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Well, I am lucky enough to work in a nonprofit that is completely, that's our baseline value and mission. It's to build, acceptance, growth, care, community for people with IDD. So we are constantly working for, diversity, inclusion, equity, and we added a B, so we call it DEIB for belonging.
Hmm.
So we ask all staff to participate in a 2-day workshop called Getting to the Root, which is we have the local NAACP like come by and they kind of teach it with us and stuff, and it teaches all about realizing privilege, racism, inequality, all pretty much everything for the 2 days. It's super intensive. And then we have monthly meetings across the entire company to continue the conversation and
Hmm.
discuss current issues of relevance and all that kind of stuff. And in February, we created a DEIB committee, which I'm on the board for, and we help develop and propose plans, activities, policies that will help create a more supportive and inclusive work environment for everyone at Venture Together.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you do anything with like inclusive design on the website, on the Instagram?
Yes, all our
Uh,
Instagram posts on average, we have alt captioning. We have a color scheme that's very can be made for colorblind people. So it's like if you put it in grayscale, it's still all very visible and you understand the design. Um, we're working to be more inclusive. I'm trying to get our website to start including something about like, better readability and user interface for people with sight issues. So maybe like audio or, you
mhm.
know, more of that, but that's a long-term thing we've been trying to edge towards.
So your clients, do they use like assistive technologies at all when they're interacting with things?
We have a few that do. Since we cover such a range of people, we have
Mhm.
some who, are completely, they live in apartments and they live on their own. They can work computers and they have jobs and stuff. And we have others who are like cannot even eat for themselves and like they can barely use the bathroom alone and stuff. So we really try to make sure everyone's included when we make our content.
Mhm.
So, we do have some inclusive technologies, especially at our residential programs and like the actual locations. Like we have touchscreen floors and
Oh,
touchscreen walls and little robot. Like we do a lot with that kind of stuff.
no, really interesting. Okay, it's great to hear. Um, so what is something you wished someone told you when you were in school, I guess, to prepare you for post-graduation work?
Um, I would say like two things. First, don't avoid any facet of like your major's potential like concentrations. Like when I was going into my capstone, Bill heard me say in front of a bunch of classmates, I was like, I hate photography. I don't want to touch a camera. Don't make me touch a camera. I don't want to interview people. I don't want to interact like that. And I really leaned more into the business side of like communications and PR where I was like, I'm different. I'm the administration. And pretty much after graduation I realized, oh no, I actually needed those skills. So, it's a lot of me sitting down with cameras and looking up YouTube videos of like how to best interview people, what's the best lighting, what's how to best journal, like do journalism and blah blah blah. Blah. So, unfortunately, I had to learn from my mistakes, but I recommend that if you're like if the major's saying you got to like interview someone and do a nice picture, do it. Just really try to actually learn instead of being like regurgitating the info and being like, okay, okay. And
Okay.
I guess the other thing is that it's not the end of the world if you graduate without a job, and it's really okay if you graduate with one path in mind or one career in mind, and then post graduation you got to change paths a little, or I hate to use the word settle, but settle for a different job while you work up to the job you'd like. There's no shame in it. It's post grad is the Wild West out here.
So I guess it's just making it's just taking everything that you could get and then using that to help you move forward to what you
Yes.
truly
Every
are.
opportunity is a learning opportunity.
Do you keep track of the new skills that you've developed anywhere? Do you have those so
Yes, I
you
have an Excel
can update
spreadsheet and
your
stuff.
resume and everything?
Yeah, I keep an Excel spreadsheet of just like the general things I did. Like I made a 45-minute video for MLK Day and I projected it to 2K people and I had to use Adobe Premiere and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
So I keep just general tracking of notes and or like, how much money we've raised in a fundraiser we did and stuff. So numbers are important. People like numbers.
That way you can put that in your resume. You can talk about them and
Yes.
that kind of stuff. Okay, great. Yeah, keeping track of your progress and keeping track of your skill set. I'm sure that's something that's really important moving forward. Do you have to do like annual, do they, well, you haven't been there a year, but do they do performance reviews?
They do. I think everyone's getting theirs now, but since I've only been here for like 5 months, I'm probably gonna get mine near the end of the year.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Do you know if those are like, they give you something written or is that like a meeting with the board or how does that
I
work?
believe they do a meeting and they just talk about with you do a meeting with your boss and they just are like, hey, good job. Or you can fix this and this.
All right. Okay, great. Okay, so what 2 to 3 experiences do you think students should engage in while in college to help prepare them for entering um, the field? I guess the communications field upon graduation. You mentioned a couple things about like keeping your mind open to various opportunities, but are there other things that you think that students should work toward?
Yeah. I mean, I really feel strongly that you should join extracurriculars at any cost necessary. Not enough to like, don't keel over trying to prove that you're God on earth for three little clubs, but like, joining clubs and being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So, joining stuff that you wouldn't normally think about doing, but your friend was like, yeah, come along. And so you show up and you're meeting new people with different paths and different majors. And, sometimes you find things that you do like. Sometimes you learn what you don't like, which I think is just as valuable. And also, it's, a really good practice to learn how to bond and communicate with anyone and everyone.
Hmm.
So, because that's our job to make friends with everything we find. So you can do that, and then if you get into it, you can get leadership roles, and you can build that on your resume. And I feel like there's no wrongdoing in an extracurricular. Also, I guess just like this one's kind of weird because it's not really an exact experience, but I'd say like public speaking or opportunities to be in the public eye. So, starting to build a portfolio as early as you can through you were asked to speak at a luncheon for old people about why old people are cool. Like, you just show up and you do it. Or, you're going to publish something in a little blog that's in Long Island, but, it's still a blog and you're now a published person. So, just doing anything that gets your work or you into the public eye. That way you're more top of mind for peers, teachers, employers, anyone. And, it doesn't have to be a big ticket event, but just take note of it, write the notes down, take pictures of it, and just save it for a rainy day for your resume.
Great. So I imagine in your position, and from what you said earlier, you're going to a lot of various organizations. Are you doing like cold calling to them? Are you just reaching out? Are you having to put yourself out there in those sort of places that
Well,
make
we
you
don't
uncomfortable?
cold call, but I deal a lot with vendors and stuff, or like I mentioned before, I work sometimes with the C-suite who are like, can you call this board of director and maybe we have to get in contact with this senator and we have to talk to this person from Juanio or ARC. So normally it is me cold calling people sometimes, but they know who we are as much as we know who they are. But it's stuff like that. And sometimes, you have to kind of meet brand new people alone and you're like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm Emma. You don't know me, but you'll see me.
Okay. Is that something that's difficult for you, or is that something that you've sort of learned to become more
No,
comfortable?
I'm obnoxious and my voice travels.
Okay. All right. So thinking back to your comm courses, are you able to sort of see that any that helped you prepare for the job market, either directly or indirectly? And can you make a connection between like some of the things you learned in your comm courses and the things that you are working like on a day-to-day basis with today?
Yeah. I think, Bill, not to toot your horn, but the coding class was super helpful. Like, I'm totally forgetting the name of it, but yeah, like the one about coding and website design.
Mhm.
Learning about aesthetics of how to make a best looking interface and, accessibility issues and how to best format for, different types of medias and, for phone versus iPad versus like all that kind of stuff. Just I felt like I learned a lot about the actual logistics of running a website or being a interface or platform for a brand.
Mhm.
I also really enjoyed, I'm trying to remember exactly its name, but I don't think I'll have any luck. It was with Dr. Perry. It was about like internet ethics and like ethics and like all that kind of stuff. And like kind of about security and stuff. I loved that class because it was my first time really being like, they can take that, they can take that data, they can do that.
Mhm.
And learning about like how to best protect, especially with my job, it's like our job is to protect when needed the privacy of our individuals. So while we want to do marketing with them and like put their smiling faces on a lot of our marketing stuff, we have to respect that, they may not have that same kind of comfortable level. So we do like we asked for photo release and we ask them to be specific if they don't want a certain thing to be released. And we try to share as much as we can to be transparent with them about why we need this photo, why we would like it there. And, I learned a lot about the ethics of posting and managing and stuff. So I'm trying to think about one other class because I think it'd be Capstone. Capstone was I loved it. And I felt like I really learned how to like fully bring something from its conception to its finished product, like how to do a full campaign pretty much and have an amazing piece of thing at the end and how much work will have to go into it to be perfect at the end.
Right. When you were on the job market, do you think that they took seriously the portfolio that you created at school as examples of things that you could do?
Um, I would say they didn't really care about majority of my portfolio except my capstone.
Okay.
But to be fair, I think I went way hard on the capstone compared to a lot of other things I did.
Okay.
And like, I'm really proud of my academic essays. So, I don't think
Yeah.
Lisa in HR is going to be interested in reading why the Virgin Mary was the best medieval art
Mhm.
subject of all times.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Are there any follow-up questions to any of that? Just want to take a break to see if anybody has any questions. Scott, when did you want me to break fully for questions?
No, that's up to you with the, I think we
Okay.
go to 11. So, I mean, this is going great. And certainly
Okay.
those online, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat or raise your hand or come off of mute. So we'd love for this to be as interactive as possible.
Okay. Are we going to 11? Because I know that the class usually goes 10 to 10:50. So I think, right? Okay.
I thought it was 10 to 11, but maybe I'm incorrect
Okay.
there.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's 10 to 11. That's my bad. All right. So we have plenty of time. Okay. I was just worried that the time was getting short. Okay. All right. So what advice would you give to students as they think about the job market and those students who are graduating in a couple of
Okay, how are
weeks
you?
and sort of moving that way?
Briefly.
well, I would say kind of what I mentioned earlier, where it's like, the perfect job is not gonna, if you graduate without a job at graduation, it's fine, really, about everyone else's too. There's only a few that are getting jobs right out of college or have one set up. Especially in my class, I don't know, because a lot of us were struggling with the COVID, like kind of impact on internships. So it wasn't like we had like a bond with some companies and stuff. But I'd say don't be afraid to start somewhere where you didn't expect. Um, Kind of just take it as this is gonna be a really funny story in like 10 years.
Mhm.
When I'm the CEO of my company, I'm gonna have a giggle. But and also I would say don't pick your perfect job or career based on pay. Um, you have to make sure it's something that you can mentally handle, like waking up and doing every single day, like repeatedly, day in, day out. So it may pay like $100 billion, but if you can't stand writing newsletters every week, that might not be the case for you. I think a lot of people choose pay over what they're actually asking, and I think that can be a very detrimental thing mentally. And also I'd say don't pick a major solely on passion. This is like kind of unpopular advice, I think, but I have a lot of friends who are like, in art, music, a lot of passion-based careers, and they struggle to find jobs and find a place in their career when it's so hard to kind of sell your passion because it's like it's not just love anymore. Now it's like you got to make money off your love, and that kind of takes away from the love of the actual hobby or activity. So I'd say, a major doesn't have to be, your favorite thing in the world, but you have to enjoy it and feel like you could grow and thrive in it.
Thanks. Ian, I'm sorry. I think I interrupted. Did you have a question? Is he still there? Ian? All right. So if anyone does have a question, please. Oh, there he is. He's back on. Ian, do you have a question?
No, sorry. I had
Oh.
a child talking in my ear. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. If anyone does have a question, just raise their hand and pop it in the chat. So how does your Jesuit education impact how you work and or the career decisions that you've made to date?
I mean, obviously with being a nonprofit, again, the whole Jesuit value is about like giving back to the community, service to others, kind of being very involved in the community through help and uplifting and growth and bonding and all that. So I'm completely attuned to the mindset of, at the end of the day, we have a mission to make the lives of our individuals the best it possibly can. And it's not about the money, it's about, giving back to the community, even if it's just the local Rockland County community, and helping it grow and be more accepting and, kind place for everyone. So that was one thing. And also, a Jesuit education, I didn't realize this till after graduation. It's really well-rounded. I talked with people from other colleges and stuff, like peers my age, and their major was strictly it for them. Like it wasn't like they were like, you have to take your religion courses and a math class and a science class and English classes. So you were kind of stuck in this bubble once you chose that, and it was a little difficult to explore other facets of life or about education. So, as much as I nearly failed math every single time I took it, um, I still kind of appreciate the fact that I had to take it or, take a religion course. And I was like, I don't want to read the Bible. I want to do something about like a website. Unfortunately, it's really helpful to have those references in the back of your head when you got like a cocktail party or a networking event. Someone's like, man, this is a real David and Goliath moment, huh? And you're like, I know that. I know that. So I think it's just being well-rounded.
Great, great. And I wonder if you might be able to provide any sort of interview or networking tips for folks.
I think that applying for a job is a full-time job. Like, don't discount the amount of time, energy, mental power it takes to sit down and be on LinkedIn or Indeed day in, day out, networking and stuff. It's don't shoot yourself or like don't feel bad about the fact that it is kind of stressful and unenjoyable to sit there for hours a day, but it's a full-time job. You're working to work. um Also, networking, I'd really recommend, especially post grad, join community groups in your area, like whether it be a church, community service, general social groups, a hobby group. You often meet a lot of older adults or peers that once you found that common ground with them, like over that shared activity, they really want to help you succeed and want to see you succeed. So like I'm in the Allendale Women's Club still, and I am the chair of marketing and PR for their general stuff, and I'm also the chair of marketing PR for their fashion show that's in 2 weeks. So, I've met a lot of amazing women through that, like in the fashion industry and stuff. And, I'm modeling it in 2 weeks because these women are like, everyone gets along so well and we bond over it. And it's just like, it's really nice to see. Like, there's one lady who's also modeling who works for the UN. So me and her like hang out a lot, but it's just an amazing networking opportunity that doesn't feel like work. And also, when it's time to interview, I'd say act kind of like this is weird. I don't know. I'm a fake it till you make it kind of girl. I walked into interviews being like, I already have the job. You're trying to convince me that you want me for the job. Like, why should I work here? So I kind of had that mindset, and once it switched, I feel like employers could see that there's some self-assurance and confidence that they'd like to see. They don't want you to grovel, unless they do. But then again, do you want to work somewhere like that?
Right, right. Okay. Um, that's great. So I think that's sort of the end of the list of questions that I have. What questions do you all have for Emma?
I'd like to ask a question to Emma. You just mentioned, working with somebody that works at the UN or being in that group. Can you talk about being in New York? And because I know in the communication field, there's a lot of opportunity in and around New York City. Can you talk about that transition from Philly to New York and how that was for you? And even if, some of the young professionals that you work with, how they find that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a proud Jersey girl. Um, I live like within 10 miles of New York City. I grew up there and stuff. So I was always very familiar with New York, the people in it, the friends who work there, every kind of stuff, like all that with my parents and blah blah blah. But my job is mainly based in a little outside of New York City. So about 15 miles. I don't know. I wish I had geography. But I pretty much, with the women's club, for that example, she works in the UN stuff. And when when you live or work in such close areas, you see a lot of people who are working to be in New York. And of course, New York's a great place to work. I would just say it is a big transition. And to get into that, I think it really is a case of you need to kind of claw your way into whatever opportunities available and be willing to work where a door's not open, shimmy through the window. Do whatever you feel it takes to get into the circle into the group that once you're there, you can make connections and network, and then the ball will start rolling. But, I find that a lot of issues come from just getting that initial kick through the door. And I'd say claw in, join community groups, stand around Wall Street. I don't do whatever it takes to just get in. And then it normally starts rolling a lot easier.
Thank you.
Other questions for Emma? Sure, she'd be willing to answer any questions that you have about what it was like post-grad and going from getting her job, anything at all. Yeah, Hannah.
When you got your certificate, I think you said it was digital marketing, right?
Yeah.
When you applied for that, what was like the process to go into that and like with St. Joe's and everything?
It was actually relatively easy because, it's it was not like an actual program where you need to prove your GPA and stuff. It was more, I think, it's more of a certificate where it's like, if you're willing to pay the money, we're willing to teach you. So it was kind of me just applying, showing my transcript, giving my resume and being like, this is who I am. I'm from St. Joe's. Let me in. Pretty please. And from there, they kind of were just like, oh, like they read through my resume, they read through what I've done in the past, kind of where I'm at currently in my career. And they were like, okay, yeah, you qualify to be in this. Give us the money.
Great. Yeah, Amanda?
Hi, so kind of a follow-up question to that, actually. Do you think that gave you a big leg up when you were applying for other jobs? Because I know, like, I'm graduating right now, for example, but I'm kind of conflicted between if I want to go for my master's, if I want to get like something more specialized, like a certificate or something like that. So do you think that helped you, like, while you were applying for jobs?
I think it was really helpful, mainly because, like I mentioned before, I think companies really enjoyed seeing that even after a year after graduation, when I'm in supposedly real estate, that I'm still willing to like continue learning and stuff and all that. And also, I was in the same boat. I was like, do I want to get a master's? Do I want to like spend another few years of my life doing that kind of thing? And I kind of figured the certificate would be a nice test run to see if I'd be willing to get into like a master's, and if that's something I can see myself doing in the future, if I would want to be in marketing or business and blah, blah. But pretty much I think it was really helpful to figure out, can I do education like post grad? Do I like it? Do I like what I'm learning? And just like it shows off, it looks nice on the resume that you're still got education qualifications up to the most recent year and stuff. And there's a bunch of free ones too. Like I know that Google offers like as resume boosters, you can get certified for free in Google Analytics, Google Google SEM, Google SEO. Like you can get certified in so many things for free. All you need is like a Google account, which we all have. So I'd really recommend that too if you're not ready to like bag down on a certificate or a master's or something.
Thank you so much.
There's a question about waiting to apply for jobs until graduation. So would you recommend people start applying for jobs before graduation or after?
I mean, if you're set that you're going to be going into like you're doing your major and you're almost done with it, you're almost at graduation, I'd say there's no harm in starting early. Most employers will be just fine being like, oh, you're graduating on May 22nd. Okay, well, how are you? You'll start 2 weeks after. Most jobs really are like, they're just excited to have, someone fresh off the college boat. So I think it's really helpful to start now because the job application process takes a lot longer than you think it does.
And there's a question here. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the process of applying for jobs. You said it's like a job in itself, but can you tell us more about what our students might expect through that process?
Yeah.
I guess it's completing the applications, the waiting, the not hearing, the rejections, the
Yeah.
interview, all that sort of thing, what that's all like.
All the confidence building that is job applying. Ooh, wow. So yeah, the job applying process is brutal. I won't lie to you. I started job applying, I think, in August, like late July, early August of last year, being like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta stop doing real estate. So, I started applying every day, 9 to 5, when I wasn't doing real estate stuff or doing an open house or something. Like I was waking up, doing it from 9 to 5 every day, looking on job sites. I would go on to government websites and stuff, because your state website, or at least your town or county, they offer a lot of services like for free regarding like different job postings and boards and stuff. Highly recommend taking a look at those. Even the US, just the general government, has a lot of resources that are not on LinkedIn or Indeed and all that you wouldn't normally find. So yeah, you'd go apply and you get to go in and put in your applications every day and stuff. And the applications are normally like the we work or whatever. No, whatever it is. But you have to make personal accounts for each thing. And sometimes they don't even read your resume. So you have to fill it in physically, and they ask you to make cover letters, and no one's reading the cover letters. And I won't lie, it's very demoralizing. Like you're just kind of by the end of it, like, okay, yeah, what? Let's make a 10th cover letter. Let's do it. Because you're supposed to make it very curated. Each resume and cover letter should be very curated to the company you're applying to. For that, I recommend, it doesn't have to be exact to the company. Like, oh, they said time management, but this other one said rationalizing time different, like the same words. But I pretty much just made 5 different resumes. One for digital marketing, one for communications, one for PR, one for museums, and one for nonprofit. And I would use those interchangeably. And so I was like, oh, this one's a history one. That's going for the museums and all that kind of stuff. So that helped a lot. And then eventually you'll never hear back from any of them. And you'll hear back from maybe a small percentage, and sometimes they're rejections and they won't tell you why. It's really, you gotta just persevere and just be like, it's gonna happen one day. It has to. It has to happen one time or another. And also, I'd recommend looking into recruiters. Like, look into general recruiters and headhunters, because they love new college graduates, and they do the heavy lifting for you. They find the jobs. They want to sell you. They want you to get as hired as much as you want to be hired, because they get a part of this commission from the company. So I'd really recommend looking into those and reaching out to headhunters if that's what you feel you need to do.
Mhm. I was wondering if the current job, they used a recruiter to do their hiring, or did they hire directly?
It was a bit of both. So they had a recruiter be like, do you like, hey, I see you're into nonprofits. Do you like marketing? Do you want to be a marketing manager? And I was like, yes. And they're like, okay, yes, I would. I would love a paycheck. So then I applied from there, and I applied, and that was kind of, they didn't really get involved too much. It was more they just led the dumb blind horse to water. So
So you partnered with the recruiter who then put you in touch with this company?
yes.
Okay. All right, great. So there's a question, Valerie, I see your question, but sticking on jobs here. What was your biggest mode of applying? Did you use Handshake with SJU, or did you use other platforms instead, like Indeed or LinkedIn, or did you just do a mix?
I didn't touch Handshake. I don't like the interface of Handshake one bit. Don't tell SJU I said that.
Scott's not listening, no.
Yeah, Scott, cover your ears. But I had no interest in Handshake. I applied a few times and I was like, wow, that was redundant. I mainly did stuff with LinkedIn. I didn't really touch Indeed too much because I like to get super nitty gritty. Like I would take the company and bring it to Glassdoor to see if it's a real company and to see the quality of the company. And I'm a control freak, as I mentioned. But I kind of use that. But also, like I mentioned, I was going onto government websites and like using their job boards that they have on listed, like all these resources they have to help you find a job. So I was looking at jobs from US Gov and from the state of California and all this kind of stuff. And just, I felt like those job ones were actually really helpful in comparison to sometimes LinkedIn. So I'd recommend going to like your local state and just looking up like job employment stuff. And they have a lot of boards and stuff you can narrow down. And Bill, I'm sure I could email you the ones I used to use if people are really
Okay,
that interested.
I think that'd be helpful. All right, and I think we have time for like one or two more questions, but Valerie was wondering about how you balance your personal life with your work life. And if you could give advice on like time management post-graduation, like how you prioritize certain things.
Yeah. So since I had the two different careers, one that was like I was an independent contractor. When you're a real estate agent, there is no time frame really. You could be called at 9 p.m. at night for a showing at 7 a.m. in the morning, or you're working on Sundays and Saturdays, or you don't work at all an entire week, and then all of a sudden you get like 6 days in a row. So I've had that before, and that was difficult because you have to learn to be very go with the flow and ready to kind of move whenever. But I really prioritized exercise, which I know, I'm so sorry to say it, guys, working out does make you feel better about life. I really hate to break that news, but I really prioritized that. I prioritized at least getting, 8 hours and spending at least 2 hours a day at the end of the night doing a hobby, not computer, not screens, like picking a hobby that doesn't require a screen or computer and just completely unplugging. So, like now, I'm really into crocheting. So, but with the 9 to 5, it's obviously a lot easier because it's a 9 to 5. You have your weekends back and you know your structure every day. Again, it's 8 hours, the working out. When you're salaried, you don't get a big reward from staying overtime. There's not like, unless they're offering paid overtime, don't kill yourself trying to be there to prove that you're the star player of the room. It's okay to be middle of the pack in the beginning. So I think just realizing that your life is not your job. You don't live to work, you work to live. And keeping that in mind when, you're thinking about your job or doing it at 9 p.m. at night, like cut it off and go crochet something, do some macrame, like read a book. I felt like that really helped me keep calm and sane as I can be, after graduation.
Great. Any last questions for Emma? Okay. I heard it beep. No. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Emma, thank you for all that insight. It's always wonderful to see you and to hear about all your wonderful successes.
Oh,
And yeah, it'd be great to get a couple of links to those resources, those government websites that you went on, and I could share those with some folks, or Scott can send them out. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, they might be a little New Jersey catered, but it should be the same idea about all the states. So
great. Scott, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you very much, Emma. Really appreciate it. I think there was some really
hope it
good advice
helped.
out there.
Okay.
Hope
Well,
someone got something out of it.
yes, I'm sure they did. All right. Well, good luck with everything. Stay in touch. It's always
Of
great to
course,
see
Bill.
you.
Thank you. Lovely seeing you as always. Thank you,
Okay.
Scott, for having
Okay.
me.
Sure
All
thing.
right.
And as a reminder to those still on, we have 4 more sessions throughout the day today. So feel free to jump on.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Have a great day.
Take care,
Thank
Emma.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.